Okay guys, for part 2 of this assignment, you have been asked to take one of your rubbings that you did and carefully observe the texture that you can see. And again, I had you do it with the black or the gray just because you can see the texture very clearly, maybe a little more so than maybe with an orange or a yellow or something like that. And so you're going to take your pencil and you're going to see if you can sort of recreate some of the texture. And so something that I pointed out was in the Google slide that I gave you that has all of your elements and principles in it, you can see several examples of different kinds of line that you might use to create texture. So I pointed out that there's thick lines and thin lines. Some are almost kind of getting almost broken lines where they almost seem to disappear. And then some of them are these tiny little fractures down in through here. And I said that you don't necessarily need to recreate every single line that you see. You're just going to use this as an inspiration to practice and experiment with creating a sense of texture. So you can see that I did that here. Obviously, this is not exactly like this one right here, but I used it as inspiration and created this. Mine's a little bit more curvy. That's okay. So some things that I want you to think about as you're doing this is resist the temptation to come in here and say, well, this looks like this. I'm going to kind of draw this line, and then I'm going to draw this line, I'm going to draw this line, I'm going to draw some of these lines, and I'm going to be done. That's not what I'm looking for. Remember that on these exercises for the entire assignment, you should be spending at least half an hour, if not closer to 45 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes at least, doing these entire exercises. So take your time with it. Don't draw what you know. You know kind of basically what a leaf looks like. Draw what you see. Use it as inspiration. So one of the techniques that we discussed for doing that is to break something down into shapes that you can recognize. So maybe if I was going to do, let's see, maybe that one you might feel a little intimidated by, but this one's pretty nice right here. We'll see. If I'm going to redo this one, it's a little bit of a different shape than the one that I just worked with. So the first thing that I can observe is, I would call this an apex line. You don't really have to know that, but that's just the curve of the leaf. So I'm probably going to start there. So if I can erase this, if there's enough of an eraser on here to do it, I'm just going to get rid of this. And notice I'm using my wooden pencil again. That's because I can do some shading with it if I turn it on its side. I can't do that with a mechanical pencil. So anytime that you draw, you're trying, and we're going to draw from life pretty soon here next week. And we're going to use some texture. We're going to also use that value that you learned. But one thing that we're going to learn is we got to kind of want to recreate what we see. So I can see this right here. I'm going to keep this in front of me. It's going to be a little hard to do on camera. I'm always going to keep this in front of me as I work. So I can bring my paper over here. And if I want to recreate that line, I'm going to basically try to get that first line on the paper. And I'm going to try to draw a little bit darker than I normally would just so you can see it. But in general, start out with really loose, light lines. Don't come in like you're writing, you know, if you're going to write the letter A, you know exactly what it's going to look like before you even finish. We don't know exactly what this is going to look like. Don't make your lines so sure. Alright, so come in with light, loose lines that are easy to get rid of if you don't like them. Alright, so now I'm going to look at the space over here and I'm going to sort of judge like how far away is this boundary of the leaf from here. So at the widest point, maybe it's around there, and look how it kind of comes in like this. So I'm making some general observations here. Look how light and loose these lines are. So maybe this needs to come down a little bit further, and then this one, notice how this space is not identical to this space. So maybe this one kind of comes up like this. Kind of has this little thing happening here, and this is really interesting the way this kind of comes in. So I'm just kind of finding some things that I can recognize and easily duplicate with my pencil. I'm kind of judging that this is probably about 1/3 of the way down the leaf. So I think that's about accurate. Okay. And so now I've gotten this far. I'm going to bring this up so that you can see it a little bit better. So this is all I've gotten so far, but I think that's a pretty good start towards that. Obviously it's not exact, and that's okay. Again, this is my interpretation of the leaf. I'm being inspired by the leaf, but this is not a photo representation of the leaf. All right, here's another thing. Don't put harsh outlines on your work. You're going to want to do that. Everybody always does, but don't do that because we're not drawing a cartoon leaf. You might say, well, I draw cartoons. I don't draw this kind of stuff, so I don't need to do this. This will actually help you draw whatever style that you like because you're learning to observe carefully and you're learning to judge your spacing and stuff like that, get your proportions correct. So all of this kind of stuff that we're working on, shading, observational drawing, whatever style you draw in, if you like, if you are geared towards that thing, towards drawing and stuff like that, those things I meant to say. No matter what your interest is as far as drawing goes, it's going to improve your skill and you'll take that back with you to whatever style that you enjoy the most. So don't knock it. And if you ever find yourself in an art school, believe me, you're going to be drawing a lot of stuff that you never had any interest in. But it improves your skill and you can sort of take that with you as you develop your own style. All right, so now as I'm coming through here, I'm going to start kind of making it look a little bit more like the leaf that I see. So I'm just going to start by very lightly adding some of the lines that I can easily identify. And again, I'm not going to try to recreate every line I see on the page. I'm just going to kind of make my own interpretation of that. Before I get too far, so now you can see I've got a few more lines on the page. Now I'll probably add some value. So I'm going to turn the pencil on its side and kind of come in like this. Super light. Very light. And then I will begin to go back in and darken up the lines that I want to keep. And I'll use my eraser to kind of soften up some of the lines. Again, I'm not going to draw a harsh outline around the leaf. Yes, I know there is a boundary there, but some places you can see the outline of it. Okay, I'm right up in here, but then, you know, in other places it gets softer. So make sure that you try to capture that with yours. Look for very thick lines, like down here. I would make this much thicker. And probably what I would do is go back with a darker pencil as well. I think this one might actually just be a regular pencil because I don't see any markings on it. I don't recognize this pencil, so it's probably just a regular good old writing pencil. So it'll get dark-ish, but I can certainly get a lot more value if I go back in with a darker pencil, or just even press a little bit harder. So go ahead and spend some time trying to get some value and then draw in these darker lines. And you want to do at least 2, if not 3, and look how large these are. All right, so you can see the scale, to use a term, you can see the scale that I'm working on. All right, these are fairly good size, so don't be working like this. All right, don't do that. Make it big. All right. So I can't wait to see what you're going to do. I'm just going to have fun with this and open your mind. I know it's something outside your comfort zone, but nobody ever grew or learned anything that refused to work outside their comfort zone. So just give it a try, and you can probably do better than you think. And then in the next couple of days, we're going to move on and learn some more techniques that are a little bit more specific on texture. And then we're going to apply those to a drawing where you will add value and texture to your work. All right, great job, guys.